Medical literacy, paper one. And we are going to look at this question paper from June 2024. And this question paper is from the Gauteng province. So moving on to our instructions according to the question paper. So our first instruction reads, this question paper consists of 4 questions and you have to answer all questions. Very important. And then on the second part, use the annexures in the addendum as follows. So this is how we are going to access our addendum from annexure A to annexure E. So in terms of our first question, which is going to be our question one, it reads: social media is a collective term for websites and applications, in brackets apps, that focus on communication, community-based input, interaction, content sharing, and collaboration. People use social media to stay in touch and interact with friends, family, and various communities. So we're given a percentage of people using social media on a daily basis. So this is the graph that we have that you just need to browse through. Then beneath that, it reads use the graph above to answer the questions that follow. First part, identify the type of graph indicated above. So according to the graph that we have, we can see that is a bar graph. So we have a bar graph. So 1.1.1, we are saying we have bar graph. So we can call it a vertical bar graph or we can call it a single bar graph. So any one of the terms can be correct. Then we go to 1.1.2, name the social media platform that is the least popular. So obviously, the least popular is going to be the one with the least percentage or the smallest percentage. So if you try to look there, you will see that the Snapchat has got 30%, which is the least of the percentage that we are having there. So Snapchat is our response. So moving on to the next part of our question, which is going to be our question uh, 1.1.3. Determine the percentage of Instagram users. Determine the percentage of Instagram users. So obviously we try to see in Instagram users, we are seeing that we have this bar that is indicating Instagram users. So you can see that we have got 63% as our percentage. So that is what we have for 1.1.3. So moving on to the next part of our question, which is 1.1.4. There are 10 million users daily on social media platforms. Calculate how many users are on TikTok daily. So if you try to see there, you see that the percentage that we have on TikTok, we have got 35%, and then the total of users that is given is 10 million. So you're going to say 35% at times 10 million. So that's how we're going to calculate it. That is 1.1.4, whereby we are saying 35%, which is 35 over 100, and then you multiply by 10 million. So we calculate, I'll see what we get. We are going to get your answer is 3,500,000. So this is going to be your answer of for 1.1.4, or we can present it as 3.5 million. So we are saying, as your answer, you can present it as 3.5 million, which is also correct. So this is what we have in terms of our 1.1.4. Then from there, we move on to the next question that we have, which is 1.2. So on 1.2, it reads, when buying a car, the generally accepted rule of thumb is that you should not spend more than 20% of your total income on car payments. And then we are given a picture of a car. Then beneath that, it reads, Mr. Klein is looking at his dream car, a Golf, a GTI 2023, a model. Mr. Klein earns a monthly gross salary of 68,000 rands. The price of the car is calculated as follows. So this is the calculation of the price of the car. Then on the note, Mr. Klein does not want to trade in his current car. Use the information above to answer the questions that follow. Write the total estimated repayment value out in ways. So you see that the total estimated repayment value. I will try to locate it where we have it. So we see that The value that we have is indicated here, which is our total estimated repayment value, which is 1,206,200, 1,206,711. So this is how we are going to write it, but we are going to write it in words. So this is 1.2.1. Whereby the figure that we have is 1,206,711. 711. So we write that in words. So it's going to be 1,000,000 200 206,711. So exactly, this is what we have on 1.2.1, and then we move on to 1.2.2, whereby 1.2.2 reads, choose the correct answer from the options given below. Write only the letter A to D as an answer. The correct definition for interest rate is, so you see that the most appropriate that we have according to what we have is C, whereby it says the amount you pay back, that's the original amount you borrow plus certain percentage. So this certain percentage of the loan amount as interest is what is describing our interest. And we see that with the others that are given, this becomes the most appropriate. So we have C. So we move on to the next part, 1.2.3. Calculate 20% of Mr. Clint's monthly gross salary. So obviously, we need to identify what is the monthly gross salary so that we can be able to calculate. So if you refer back on the table, we are told that the monthly gross salary is indicated as here as 68,000. So it's going to be 20% of 68,000. So this is our 1.2.3, whereby we are saying 20%, which is 20% times 68,000. Of course, our 20% is a decimal, it's 0.2, and then we multiply by 68,000. Let's see that the answer that we are going to get is 13,600 rands. So this becomes your answer on that question. And move on to the next part of our question. On the next part, we have, what is the original selling price of the car without the interest? What is the original selling price of the car without the interest? So we refer to information given. So it's that the original selling price without interest is the retail price, which is 834,900. So we indicate that as 1.2.4. We are saying 834,900. And then we move on to the next part, which is saying determine the value of A, the total amount of interest payable on the GTI and Gulf. So we try to see what we have in terms of A. So total interest that we have is the year that we want to calculate. So obviously total interest is going to be total estimated repayment minus retail price. Remember, if you say retail price, you add your interest, you are going to get your total estimated repayment. So the question is asking us to calculate the interest. So we are going to say interest is equals to total estimated repayment minus retail price. So that's how we're going to get our interest. So we come here, we calculate as such, whereby our figures that we have indicate that the total estimated repayment is 1,206,711. 1,206,711. Remember, this is 1.2.5. And then we subtract the the retail price, which is 834,900. So we calculate as such, see that you're going to get your answer is 371,811. So this becomes your response. And moving on to the next part of our question, which is now 1.2.6, write down the repayment period in years. Repayment period in years. So we try to refer back what is the repayment period. But if you come here, you'll see that the repayment is given as 72, which is the repayment period in months. Then we convert it to years, and we know that 1 year is equal to 12 months, whereby we are saying 1 year is equal to 12 months. So to convert our 72 months to years, you're going to divide it by 12, and then you're going to try to divide and see what you get there. See that the answer that you're going to get is 6 years. So we have 6 years is our answer. So basically, this is the last question that we have on question one, and then we move on to our next question, which is question two. So on our question 2.1 reads, Mr. Randy Ford moved from the USA to South Africa and was appointed as a head of department for mathematical literacy and mathematics at Zununu High School in Johannesburg. Below is an extract of his salary slip. So given the salary advice that we have, so you just need to browse through your salary advice. Of course, we have got some missing figures. We've got A and B indicating missing figures. Then beneath that, it reads, use the salary slip above to answer the questions that follow. 2.1.1, explain the meaning of pay as seen in context of the salary slip above. Remember, pay is PAYE, and of course, pay stands for pay as you earn. So as we do that, we try to calculate and see what do we have in terms of our pay according to the question. But anyway, in terms of the question 2.1.1, the question requires us to explain the meaning of pay. So with that, we can see that from pay, according to information given, we are having it here is 8,496 uh, uh, 496 rands 32 cents. So remember, pay is going to be a proportion that is going to be paid of the salary. So basically, that's how we calculate a pay as it comes as a percentage. So in terms of our explanation, we are going to explain it as the money that earns, the money that Rand earns uh, the more rand will pay personal income tax towards SARS. So basically, that's what we have. So if the income increases, the income that is being earned increases, the pay as we earn also increases, or the pay increases as it is a percentage of the income earned. So basically, that's what we have in the description of a pay as you earn, which is our pay. So the owner of this payslip is Mr. Randy. Mr. Randy, so obviously we are going to define with that context. I remember the question requires us to have the contextual meaning of a payee. So we are saying the more money that Mr. Randy pays, the more payee, the more the more personal income tax will be paid towards SARS. So basically, this is the description that we can give in terms of pay as you earn, which is our payee. So in terms of the next question, our next question 2.1.2 says, show by means of calculations how the gross income of 41,072 has been determined. 41,072. So we try to see where we have our 41,072. We are not given it there, but we need to try to calculate it so that we see how we arrive at 41,072 rands 13 cents. So according to information given, you are going to see that to arrive at 41,072 rands 13 cents, we are going to add the income is indicated as gross income. So we go to the section of income that we have here, where we've got the basic pay and home allowance. So we can add these two figures. We are going to arrive at the total, which is going to be 41,000 and 72 rands 18 cents. So in that way, we are going to say this is going to be our 2.1.2, whereby we are saying gross income. Then we add the incomes that we have, which we are given as 39,380 rand 75 cents. And then we add the other one, which we are given as 1,691 rand 38 cents. And so we add the two, we are going to get a total of 41,072 rands 13 cents. So basically that's what we have on that part. And we move on to the next part of our question, which is going to be our 2.1.3. Calculate the value of A, Mr. Ford's total deductions. So we refer back and see how we can calculate the total deductions, but we see that we've got deductions here. So it means all these are going to be our deductions. So we're going to add 8,496 rands 32 cents plus 1,701 rands, 15,000, and we add again 15,250 rands. We get the total deductions, which is going to be our value as A. So in that way, we come to answer section. We are saying 2.1.3. We are going to calculate your total and deductions, whereby we have 8,496 rands 32 cents. And then we add our 1,701 rands. Of course, this is our 0.00, and then we add the last figure that we have, which is 15,250. Of course, again, we put 00. So then with that, if we add, you're going to get a total of 25,447 rands 32 cents. So this is going to be our total. Our total deduction figure is indicated. This is our total deduction. So we move on to the next part of our question, which is 2.1.4. Mr. Ford informed his wife that you have a net salary of 15,625 rands 81 cents. Verify with calculations whether Mr. Ford is correct. Write a formula for calculating the net salary to assist you in your calculations. So obviously we have to come up with the first with the formula for calculating net salary, which is our net pay. So obviously to get our net salary, we are going to say gross income that we have here minus total deductions. So that is our formula that we have. So we are saying this is 2.1.4. So we are saying net salary is equal to gross income minus total deductions. So with that, we check in terms of our gross income. We did calculate our gross income, and we got 41,072 rand 13 cents here. So we are saying 41,072 rands 13 cents. And then we subtract the total deductions figure, which we got here is 25,000 447 rands 32 cents. So we calculate it like that. So you're going to get your final answer is 15,624 rands 81 cents. So this is the final answer that we have. Then from there, we can move on to the next question that we have, which is 2.1.5. Calculate what percentage is paid by the employee towards medical aid. Round off your answer to the nearest percentage. So for medical aid, we are going to say the figure that we have is 1,701. So we are saying 1,701 over 4,027 times 100 over 1. So we are coming here, and this is our 2.1.5, whereby we are saying 1,701, which is indicated as 1,701, then we divide by 4,027. We multiply by 100 over 1. We are expressing it as a percentage. So with that, you're going to get your answer is 42.23 and 98808%. And obviously, we round it off to the nearest whole number. We are going to have a 2, which is not going to change our 2 because it's in the range 0 to 4. So it becomes 42%. So this is the final answer that we have. So this is the last question that we have on question 2.1. Then we go to 2.2. 2.2 says one of the major sources of revenue for the government is personal income tax. Mr. Ford does extra work after hours and not necessarily shown on his salary advice and submits his tax returns via SARS e-filing. Annexure A shows an extract of Mr. Ford's e-filing calculation. So let's try to refer to our Annexure A, whereby this is our Annexure A as indicated. So this is the income tax calculator result that we have that we can try to just go through. This is what we have. So with that, we can try to see what is the question. The first question that we have reads, determine the total amount of income assessed by SARS to Mr. Ford after all allowances and extra remuneration have been considered. Use Annexure A to answer the question. So we need total amount of income assessed. So we go there and try to see what we have in terms of total income assessed. So according to information given, see that this is the section for amount assessed. And we have all this information indicating amount that has been assessed, elements of assessed items. So the total that we have is 719,720. So this is going to be the amount. So we indicate as such, whereby we are now on 2.2.1. So the amount is, we refer back to the next year, 719,720. So that's what we have on that question. And then we move on to the next part, which says, use Annexure A and identify Mr. Ford's taxable income after the assessment calculation. So what is the taxable income? So we're just a matter of identifying where we have got the taxable income. But of course, we have got a description of taxable income that we have here. The amount that we have is 583,797. So here is now 2.2, whereby it becomes 583,797. So basically, that's what we have on that part. We move on to the next part, which is now 2.2.3. The e-filing calculations on Annexure A show a value of 4,163 rands 70 cents as the calculated result. Show by means of calculation how the amount was calculated. Explain whether this amount is paid to SARS or if this amount should be paid to Mr. Ford. So obviously, what Mr. Ford is receiving should be compared to what Mr. Ford is supposed to pay. And then we see the net amount, whether it's going to be payable to SARS or payable by SARS. So in terms of the calculation of, in terms of verification of this calculation, we can try to refer to see where do we have that figure. We go down and we see that the figure that we want to verify its calculation is the figure here to have here, which is 4,163 rand 70 cents. So obviously, to arrive at this figure, we are going to say the subtotal that we have minus employees tax and tax credit. And then we get our figure. In other words, we are saying 133,571 rands 92 cents minus 129,408 rands at 22 cents. And then we arrive at this figure that we have. So that's the obviously the verification that we are just going to present, whereby we say, according to the calculation that we have there, this is 2.2.3. We have 133,571 rands 92 cents. 571 rands 92 cents. And then we subtract 129,408 rands 22 cents. So we calculate as such, we see that we arrive at 4,000 rands, 4,163 rands 70 cents. So of course, this is the final answer that we have. And then in terms of the second part of the question is saying, uh, explain whether this amount is paid to SARS or if the amount should be paid to Mr. Ford. So if you go to our next year, you'll see that the employees' tax and tax credits is the one that is being received by Mr. Ford. The one that is supposed to be paid to by Mr. Ford is 133,571.92 cents. So we see that what is supposed to be paid by Mr. Ford is greater than what is Mr. Ford is receiving. So obviously the net figure is supposed to be paid to SARS. So basically, on our conclusion, we are saying, therefore, this amount is to be paid to SARS. As Mr. Ford's employee tax and tax credit are less than the subtotal calculated. So basically, we are just explaining the scenario that we have on this next year on this part. So that's what we have on that part. We move on to the next, which is 2.2.4. According to the assessment done on e-filing, it is apparent that Mr. Ford needs to pay 149,996 rands 92 cents on his taxable income before rebates. Make use of the tax table for 2023 on Annex B and verify whether this amount is correctly calculated. So we go to Annex B. We see that this is our Annex B. So we're going to make use of this Annex that we have here, and we check in terms of the amount that is supposed to be taxed. We go to Annex A. If you come here, you'll see that income taxable, we are given it as 433 rands and 64, 433 rands and 64. So you are going to see that the amount that we are going to use is not going to be this amount that we have here, but we are going to use the taxable income amount which we are given is 583,797 rands. So I will check where this amount belong to the bands that we are given in our next year B. So I would see that the figure that we are looking for is 583,000. So if you check here, you see that 583,000 falls in the band D. Falls in the band D as indicated, 583 is between 488 and 641. So we are having the tariffs of tax being 115,762. So we calculated such whereby we are saying this is now our 2.2.4. This is now going to be our 2.2.4. So we say 2.2.4. So we are saying the amount that we are having is 115,762. 762. Of course, this is, we are going to add the 36% as indicated. We have a 36% of taxable income above 488,700. So we are going to say we can open a bigger bracket there. And then inside the calculation, we are going to have our 36%, which is 0.36 as a decimal. And then we multiply by the difference that is going to be there between the taxable amount and 488,700, because they are saying taxable income above 488,700. So remember, our amount that we have as taxable is 583,797. So we are going to say 583,797 is indicated on this part, and then we subtract the amount that is supposed to be, which is here, is 488,700. So this is what we have, and of course we can close our bigger bracket. So with that, we can start by solving what we have in the bracket. So if you say it will become 115,762 plus in bracket 0.36, and then we say 583,797 minus 488,700. You're going to get your answer is 95,097. So we simplify it further, whereby we remove the brackets that we have here by saying 0.36 times 95,097. So it becomes 115,762 rands plus here, if you multiply, you're going to get your 34,234. So we are going to get your 34,234 rands 92 cents. So we do add there, you arrive at the final answer, which is 149,996 rands 92 cents. So you are now saying, we go back to the question and see what are the requirements of the question. The question is saying, according to the assessment done on e-filing, it is apparent that Mr. Ford needs to pay 149,996 rands 92 cents on his taxable income before rebates. Make use of the tax table of 2023 on Annex B and verify whether this amount is correctly calculated. So we are verifying whether it's correctly calculated. So we see that this figure is the same figure that we got here. So on our comedic part now, we are saying yes, it was correctly calculated. Yes, comma, the amount is correctly calculated. Before rebates, because this is the specification of the question. So this is what we have on that part, which is our 2.2.4. Then we'll go to 2.3. 2.3 reads, Mr. Ford is a homeowner and receives a monthly water bill. The city of Ekurhuleni will provide free basic wastewater services per month. The following rates will apply. So these are the rates that we have. So the first question is determine the tariff in rands per kiloliter for 15 kiloliters of water usage per month on 23-2024. So at 23-2024, we have it as this column. And we have got 15 kiloliters. You'll see that 15 kiloliters is in this band. So we see that 2024, we have got 29 rands, 86 cents. So this is our response on 2.3.1, whereby we are saying 29 rands, 86 cents. So basically that's what we have on that part. So from there, we move on to the next question. So the next question says, calculate the percentage increase of water tariffs from 2022 to 2023 to 2023 to 2024 if a household uses approximately 30 kiloliters of water per month. You may use the formula percentage increase is equals to tariff of 2024 minus tariff of 2023 over tariff of 2023 times 100%. So they will need the percentage increase. So basically, we try to see what we have in terms of the tariff aspect 30 kiloliters for 2023 to 2024 as our first figure that we want to input there. So we go there and see on the table that we have, we see that for 30 kiloliters 2023 to 2024, we try to see according to information given in the question. So we are here, we see that the 30 kiloliters is here. So for 2023 to 2024, we have got 36.58. So we calculate the percentage, 36.58. So on our calculation, we are going to say 36.58, and then we subtract the one for 2022 to 2023, which is 32.66. And then we divide by the one for 2023, which is 32.66, as indicated, and then we multiply by 100/1. Remember, we are expressing as a percentage. So we calculate it like that to see that you're going to get your answer as a 12%. Of course, it's an increase since it's a movement from 32.66 to 36.58. So 4% increase. Well, basically, that's how we calculate that part. Then on the next question that we have, it reads, Mr. Ford made a comment in 2023 after calculating the percentage increase as indicated. He will pay 300 rands more for using 35 kiloliters of water in 2024. Verify this statement by showing all calculations. By using 35 kiloliters, you will pay 300 rands more. So we got there and again calculate. Remember, it's 35 kiloliters. So if we come here, you see that this is what we have. So we can just try to see. So we have 35 kiloliters. So we are saying 35 kiloliters, we check in terms of this column and this column. So we can start by calculating for this column, which is 2023, 2024. So we take the 6 kiloliters. So for the first 6 kiloliters, which is 0 to 6 kiloliters, that is, we are calculating for 2023/24. So we have 6 kiloliters in this sense. So we are going to say 6 times 18 rands 12 cents. So we calculate that 18 rands 12 cents. So that's what we have on that part. And then we add the other that we are going to get. We add on the second band. We took the first 6 kiloliters. Then second kiloliters is from 7 to 15. So basically, we are saying here it now becomes 7 to 15 kiloliters. And we know that from 7 to 15, we have got 7 up to 15. So on the calculation, we are going to say 15 minus 7, we get an 8, and then we add 1, since the 7 is going to be included. So if you say 15 minus 7, we get the difference between these two, but 7 won't be included. So once we include the 7 as indicated there, we are supposed to add a 1. And then it becomes 9. So it means on the calculation, we are now saying 9 times the amount that we have for 7 and 15, which is 29 rands 86 cents. 29 rands 86 cents. So we can see what we have there. So as well, we can calculate to see what we are getting. What we are getting in terms of for 0 to 6 kiloliters, we've said 6 times 18 rands, 18 rands 12 cents, and then we see that what we get there is going to be 108 rands 72 cents. Okay, as well try to verify that calculation, whereby we are saying 6 times 18 rands at 12 cents, and then we get 108 rands 72 cents, which is correct. Then we go to the next calculation, whereby we say 9 times 29 rands 86 cents, and we are going to get it as 268 rands 74 cents. Remember, this is 268 rands 74 cents. Then we go to the last one. So for now, we have taken 6 here plus our 9 here. So already we've got 15 kiloliters that we've taken from the 35 kiloliters. So all the third band that we have is from 16 to 30 kiloliters. So we are saying 16 to 30 kiloliters. So on this calculation, we are going to say 30 minus 16, and then the answer that we get, 30 minus 16, the answer that we get, we add a 1 to add the 16 that is not included on the first calculation. So we calculated like that. We see that the answer that we are supposed to get, we get 15. So it is go to 15. So it means here we're going to say 15 times what we have in the bed, 16 to 30 kiloliters. 16 to 30 kiloliters, we have got 36.58. 36.58. So that's how we are going to include here. So multiply by 36 rands are 58 cents. So we calculated like that. So you see that the answer that you are going to get there, it's going to be 227 rands 60 cents. We'll try to see. Sorry, we are going to get your 548 rands 70 cents. So that's what we have. And remember, the number that we have of kiloliters that we've taken here is 15. So we are saying plus 15. So if you say 6 plus 9, you get your 15, you get your another 15, you get your 30. So here we have got a total of 30. So we are taking these kiloliters from these 35 kiloliters. So we say 35 minus 30, so means what is remaining is now 5 in the last band of the last band that we have is 31 to 45. 31 to 45. So we are saying for 31 to 45 kiloliters, we are only remaining with 5. So we are now saying 5 times the amount that we have for that band, which is 45 rands 52 cents. So with that, we calculate 5 times 45 rand 52 cents. You get your answer is 227, sorry, 227. 227 rands 60 cents. So this is what we have. And of course, from there, we can add to get the total. So in this case, we are now adding this one plus this one plus this one plus this one to get the total, which is supposed to be 1,153 and 76 cents. And of course, we need to compare it with the one for 2023 to see what increase do we have. So for 2023, again, we start by 0 to 6. 0 to 6, of course, we've identified that we've got 6 kiloliters, so we're going to say 6 times 16.18. And then we get our answer is, I will try to see what we get there. And then after calculating, for this one, now it becomes a bit simpler as we have calculated the first one. So we can just put brackets and then we add on the second band. We have identified that in the second band, we have got 9 kiloliters. So we're now saying times 9 plus, sorry, plus, here we say 9 times on the second band, we've got 26 rand, 66 cents. And then we add what we have in the third band, which we are now having. Here we took the one for 9, so now we are on 15, 60 to 30 kiloliters, 15. Then we multiply by 32 rand. We've got 32 rand here, 66 cents. And then we add on the last band. Remember, on the last band now we have got 5 rands that is remaining. So the 5 kiloliters remaining. So we say 5 kiloliters times 40 rand, 64 cents is here. Times 40 rand, 64 cents. So we calculate it like that. You see that the final answer that we are supposed to get there becomes 1,030 rands, 12 cents. So to see the increase, the difference now is whether the increase now is from 1,030 rands, 12 cents to 1,153 rands, 76 cents. So calculating the difference now. The difference now becomes your 1,153 rands, 76 cents, and then we subtract. We subtract your 1,030, which is this one, 1,030 rands, 12 cents. 1,030 rands, 12 cents. So let's calculate and see what do we get. So if you calculate there, you'd see that the difference that we are supposed to get will be 123 rands, 64 cents. So this is the difference that we have. So we go back to the question to see what is the question saying. We go back to the question to see what exactly is the question saying. So if you check here on the question part. So the question is saying, Mr. Ford made a comment in 2023 after calculating the percentage increase as indicated that he will pay 300 more for using 35 kilometers. 300 more, which is not correct. Is 300 more, of which we are seeing that is going to be, according to our calculations, we found it as 100. We found it as 100 and 136 rands. So that's how we found it. We found it as we calculated the difference, we found it is 123 rand 64 cents more. So on our conclusion, we are now saying the difference is 123 rands 64 cents more. Therefore, Mr. Ford is incorrect. Since you will pay less. So this is what we have in terms of that. And this is the last question that we have on our question 2. And obviously, on our next question is question 3. Question 3, with its fourth Rugby World Cup victory, South Africa stands at the top of the ranking list. Commitment to the cause confidence to do a job, believe in the system. This is the South African way. It is one South Africa, the 2023 Men's Rugby World Cup. So we are given a picture that we have there. And then beneath that, an HSC shows the height of an average South African men and the rugby players with their positions in the team as well as their respective heights. Use an HSC and answer the question that follows. So the first part of our question, determine the height range with regard to the rugby players used in this set of data. So in terms of the height range, we are going to uh, obviously the highest that we have minus the lowest that we have. So this is the formula that we are going to use for the range, for using the highest height that we have minus the lowest. So we check in terms of an HSC, which is on HSC, and then we have got 1.68 is one of the heights. We have got 1.74, 1.72, 1.70, 1.86, 1.86. We have got 2.06, 2.03, 2.03. So according to the figures that we have, the highest that we have is 2.06. So we are going to say in our calculation, we have a 2.06 minus the lowest that we have. The lowest, according to the figures given, we can check and see. We are seeing that the lowest figure that we have there is 1.70. 1.70. We check in terms of the lowest that we have according to information that we have. We still have another one, which is 1. This is 1.68 meters. This is 1.70. 1.70. This one is expressed in centimeters, of which this obviously is a mistake according to the information that is given. It means all the what the heights that we are given are expressed in meters. So obviously the centimeter that we have there is just an error that is there that needs to be corrected, which means this one should be expressed also in meters. So with that, the 1.68 that we are given is an average South African mean, which is not which we are not going to include in the calculation of range. This is an average as indicated. So we are only going to include the heights of the people that we are given there. So 1.70 becomes the lowest figure that we have. So we are subtracting 1.70 is the lowest. So we are saying 1.70. So with that, we can see what we get. If you subtract there, you're going to get 0.36, 0.36 meters is the indicating the range. And then we move on to the next part of our question, which is 3.1.2. The average height of a South African rugby player is 1.86. Use the following formula and determine the total height in meters of the 15 rugby players in the Springbok squad. So, of course, you are given according to information given, you are having the average, which is the mean, and you are given the 15 rugby players, which is the total number of players. So, basically, we substitute in this formula, whereby you're saying 1.86 equal to total height is the one that we are looking for over average number of players we're given is 15. So we find our total height by saying. So we find our total height by saying total height is equals to 1.86 times 15. As we take 15 the other side, it becomes a multiplication. So we multiply, we see what we get there. If we multiply, you are going to get your answer is 27.9 meters. So this represents your total height. So moving on to the next question. Rugby is arguably one of the most body type inclusive sports, unlike long distance running or bodybuilding. Whatever shape you are, there is a place for you on the rugby field. And actually, this shows two box and whisker diagrams comparing the weight of the New Zealand and South African rugby players. Use the box and whisker diagram in Annexure D to answer the questions that follow. The 5-point summary for New Zealand is as follows. So this is the summary that we have. Then if the interquartile range is equal to 25 kgs, determine the value for A, quartile 1. Quartile 1, so basically we are saying interquartile range is equals to our Q3 minus our Q1. So according to information given, we are given the interquartile range is 25. In other words, we are saying we have 25 equal to our Q3. Our Q3 is 113 kgs as indicated. 113 kgs. So we say 113 minus our Q1 is the one that we are looking for, is indicated by the question. The value of A is our Q1. So it's going to be minus A. So we make A the sum of the formula. Obviously, we take 113 the other side. It becomes 25 minus 113 is this. 113 will change side to be a negative, and it becomes a negative A. And then we divide by negative 1 on both sides. So it becomes A equal to 113 minus 25. So we calculate it as such, and see that if you say 113 minus 25, we're going to get it as 88. 88 kg. So we are saying A is equals to 88 kg. So this is the calculation that we have. So from there, we can try to see again, term of the next question. Which one of the following terms best describes the data displayed in the box and whisker diagram? So these are kgs, and it's saying discrete or continuous data. Of course, it's going to be the response is going to be continuous data. Why? Because continuous data can take in value, and our mass, which is our kgs, can take also in value. So this is on the reason part. So 3.2.2, 3.2.2, we are saying this is continuous data. So on the reason, we are saying it can take any value. It can take any value as our response. So that is what we have on that part. The box and whisker diagrams compare the weight between the New Zealand and South African rugby players. The term is used to define a value that is very far apart from other values. So what is a value that is very far apart from other value? So obviously that is called an outlier. That is called an outlier. The figure that is very far apart from other values is an outlier. Then move on to the next one. According to international statistics, there is a great difference between salaries paid to soccer players and rugby players. Annexure E shows information on the salaries paid to famous rugby players and soccer players in different currencies. Using the information in Annexure E to answer the following questions. First part, Neymar Jr. and Cristiano Ronaldo are two of the most famous players in the world of football. Convert Cristiano Ronaldo's yearly salary to rands. So this is our next year E, and our Cristiano Ronaldo, we have Cristiano Ronaldo here earning 35 million euros per year. Then we are given the current exchange rate being €1 equals to 20.05 South African rand. So to convert these euros to rands, we are going to say 20.05 times 35 million euros. Then we get the number of rands that we have. So 3.3.1. 3.3.1. So we are saying 35 million euros. Then we multiply by 20.05 rands. So get the number of rands that we have, and it's going to give you 701,750,000 rands. So this is the answer that we have. Then 3.3.2, determine the median annual salary in millions of the given five-year-old rugby players provided. So median according to information that we have. So we see that we are given our the salaries as represented here. These are the figures that we have. Of course, the rule of presenting a median is to first arrange it in ascending order, starting with the lowest. So you'd see that the lowest that we have there, according to information given, we've got 20.13 is the lowest, and we have got 20.13. So we're going to say 20.13, and then we'll go to again 20.13. Then from 20.13, we are going to the next one, which is going to be 21. And we have got 21. And then from 21, we have 22 here, which is they are bigger. From 22, we have 35, which is the biggest, the highest figure that we have. Then in terms of finding the median, remember the median is the middle value. So we have values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. So to find the median, basically we are going to say 5 divided by 2, 5 values that you divide by 2, we get your 2.5. So it means we are going to have 1, 2 on the other side, 2 on the other side. So if you say 1, 1, 2, and the other side we also have 1, 2. So this is what we have. So the middle value becomes 21 is indicated. So we see that 21 million becomes the median. So basically we are saying median is equals to 21 million. So this is what we have in terms of the median. So basically with that, we move on to the next part of our question, which is now going to be 3.3.3. 3.3.3 is write down the annual salary of Ronaldo to the annual salary of Sia Colisi in ratio form and simplify it as dash S to 1. Let's explain the meaning of the calculated ratio. So basically, it's going to be Ronaldo to Sia Colisi. So basically, in terms of representation, we have Ronaldo as to Sia Colisi. So basically, this is what we have. So we refer back to see what is the one that we have for Ronaldo. We have calculated for Ronaldo, and we got 700 and 1,750. So this is exactly how we are going to write it. We have 701,750. Then for Sia Colisi, we refer to see what do we have in terms of Sia Colisi. We see that Sia Colisi is here, which we are having is 35 million. 35 million, 35 here, but it's a million, so 35 million. So with that, we see how we can present it. So we have 35 million. So 35 million is 35 million. So in terms of its representation, remember we are supposed to represent it as S to 1, which means this side has to be 1. So it means that basically we are going to divide this side by 35 million, and then we divide this side again by 35 million. So with that, we see 35 million, and that one is, this one is million, again 35 million, and this one 35 million. Then we divide, and then we divide this side again by 35 million. And of course, this side will become 1, and if we divide the other side, it is going to be your 20.05. So it's going to be 1 is to 20.05. So this is the final ratio, or we can try to present it as 20.05 is to 1 is our final representation. So this is what we have in 3.3.3. And obviously the last question is going to be our question 4. So moving on to our question 4, peak power, Barbie movie breaks record merchandise sell-outs. The Barbie movie shattered this year's box office records in its opening weekend with $125 million in ticket sales. The film had a $145 million budget backed by Warner Bros. And Mattel. Even before the movie was released, merchandise sold out. For example, Barbie tumblers at $19.99 and the Barbie blanket in a bag at $22.99. These merchandise items are currently on our black order until June 2024 and are now selling on eBay for around $77 and $125 respectively. So we're given two pictures that we have there of a Barbie tumbler or at $77 on eBay and Barbie blanket, purse or bag at $125 on eBay. Then I write a formula for profit on the given context. So obviously profit is going to be our income minus our expenses in the given context. So we have got profit equal to income minus expenses. This is our 4.11a. A, whereby we are saying profit equal to income profit equals to income and expenses. Then we have B. B is saying determine the amount of profit in rand made by eBay users selling the Barbie blanket in a bag for $125 per blanket. The exchange rate is currently $1 equals to 8 rand 36 cents. Obviously, we have to calculate using the dollars and then we convert the answer to rands. So the profit is, remember, I say income minus expenses. So this is the one that is being sold, which is going to be our sale price, which is going to give us the income, 125. So we say 125, according to our calculations, we are now saying, so as our profit, here we said income, which is given as 125 as income. Then the expenses part, we go to where we are given the cost of one cost of eBay. eBay users selling the Barbie blanket. So in terms of the Barbie blanket, we go there, we see that the Barbie blanket in a bag at 22 rand 22 rand 99 cents. So it's going to be the cost. So this is the one that we're going to subtract here. $22.99, sorry, $22.99. So if you calculate there, $125 minus $22.99, we're going to get it as $102. We get it as $102. Is going to be your $102.01. So with that now, we can now convert our dollars to rands as given here. We are given it as the conversion rate in terms of the exchange rate is $1 equals 18 rand 36 cents. So you multiply by 18 rand 36 cents to get the value in rands. So you see now $102.01, which is 1 cent times your 18 rands 36 cents. And then if you calculate like that, you get your answer is 1,872 rands. And then we've got 0.9036, which obviously we would want to round off to 2 decimal places, and it becomes 1,872 rands 90 cents. So this is the final answer that we have. And moving on to the next one, verify with calculations that if the Barbies movie made a revenue of $125 million worldwide during the opening weekend with a profit margin of 60%, the expenses for the opening weekend amounted to $50 million. You may use the following formula. Profit equals to revenue minus expense revenue minus expense over revenue. So this is going to be our formula there, and we're given that it's 60%. So the profit margin is 60%. So we are saying 60% is a decimal 0.6 equal to our revenue. Our revenue is given is 125 million. So we're going to say 125 and then we subtract your expense. Your expense. So in terms of the expense, the question needs us to Verify with calculations that if the Barbie movie made a revenue of 125 million worldwide during the opening weekend with a profit margin of 6%, the expenses for the opening weekend amounted to 50 million. So this figure for expense is you're supposed to get it as 50 million. So in that case, you are saying minus expense, and this is the one that we want to verify, and then over the revenue, which is again 125. So with that now, we can now calculate whereby it becomes, if you remember, these are millions, so it's going to be 125 million minus expense, and then over 125 million. 125 million, and then here is 0.6. So obviously with that, we make E the sum of the formula. We are supposed to make our, so we start by saying 0.6 times 125 million, is we take 125 million, the denominator, the other side. So this is the scenario that we are having there. So with that, we'd say that this is going to be equal to 125. 125. So if you try to multiply 0.6 times 125,000. So let's try to see what we get. We say 0.6 times 125,000. 125 million, sorry, 125 million, and you're going to get your 75 million. So here, if you calculate, you get your 75 million. And of course, here we are saying equal to 125 million minus expenses. So if you calculate here, you get your 75 million equal to 125 million minus expenses. So with that now, you can see that we are supposed to say we make E the sum of the formula. So it becomes E equal to 125 million minus 75 million. And you get your answer is 50 million. For expenses cost to 50 million. So we have verified the what we have in the question by saying we want to verify whether the expenses amounted to 50 million, which is exactly as we got here as 60 million, as 50 million. So this is what we have for that part. Then move on to the next part, which is 4.2. The graph below indicates the age groups that watched the Barbie movie. Barbie movie watchers in South Africa. So this is what we are given. Then on the first part, it says with the Gen Z population in South Africa is estimated to be 21 million people. Of these, 47% watch the Barbie movie at an estimated cost of 75 rand per ticket for the regular 2D movie. Calculate the total gross income made from the Gen Z population in South Africa. So obviously, in our calculation, we are going to first calculate the 47% of 21 million. Then the answer that we get, we multiply by 75 rand. So basically, we are saying 47%, which is 47 over 100, multiplied by 21 million. Then the answer that we get here, we multiply by 75 per ticket. 75 rand per ticket. So we multiply by 75 rand, and then the answer that you are supposed to get now is if you simplify figure, if you remove the brackets, it becomes 9,870,000, and then you multiply by 75. Multiply by 75, and then you get your answer is 740,250,000. So this is what we have on that part. And The next one, 4.2.2, is saying, what is the probability of a 2-year-old going to the movies to watch the popular Barbie movie? 2-year-old, so we check here, we have got 40 plus years, 30 to 39 years, 20 to 29 years, 13 to 22 years. So we have got no band that we have for 2 years. So it means it's impossible. So the probability is 0. So on 4.2.2, we are saying in terms of probability, we are saying it's 0. 0 probability. In other words, we are saying is impossible. Since we do not have a band for 2 years there, then I'll move on to the next part, which is on probability, 4.3. So on 4.3, it reads at the movies. You have the option to buy ice cream before watching the Barbie movie. Below is a tree diagram illustrating flavors with toppings and possible outcomes. So on the first part of our question is saying, red are the possible outcome for B. Of course, B, we are going to have vanilla sprinkles. It's going to come here. We see that to arrive at B, we first of all reach vanilla and then we go to sprinkles. So we are saying vanilla sprinkles. And then from there, it's saying write down the probability as a decimal fraction that you will choose chocolate ice cream with nuts, round off your answer to 2 decimal places. Chocolate ice cream with nuts. So we are seeing that chocolate ice cream with nuts, we are having it here. And it's here only. And we see that the possible that we have is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think as indicated, we can see, yes, we've got 6 possible outcomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 possible outcomes. And the one that we have is 1. So we need to say 1 over 6 is our probability, but it is in decimal form. So, and you round off to 2 decimal places. So obviously now we are now saying 1 divided by 6 to convert it to a decimal. So if you say 1 divided by 6 there, your answer is going to be 0.36666. So we are saying it is equal to 0.36666. And then to 2 decimal places, we've got 1, 2. We check the figure behind, we've got a 6, which is in the range 5 to 9. And if it's 5 to 9, it will add 1 here, and it becomes 0. So it becomes 0.37. So this is the probability in decimal form to 2 decimal places. So this is the last question that we have. You can see that our question paper is 100 marks. So thank you for listening, and we'll meet again in the next video.